Logan,
Yes, Connor.
can you hold the picture?
No. So you're gonna take a photo of a password for a photo sharing site.
What if I lift up my chest and it says the word vagina? Will you give me my phone first?
Well, first I would have to ask her to immediately bleep out this entire conversation.
Hi, Connor.
I can't. The iPad camera doesn't work.
This is
I mean,
hilarious.
the front camera doesn't work, and the move vagina on my chest.
I don't care if that's a
Please.
thing that you have on your chest.
Please,
The entirety of people that I try and play with and enjoy a magical fantasy adventure a world with ninja ability is now hearing that you
Fuck up. I need
don't
a
cuss
password.
about that like
Please, Logan.
I'll take a photo of it. Okay, photo.
Here we go.
Taken
There's no way I'm deleting this. There's no way I'm deleting this.
Oh, here.
No,
Put this in the bullet point.
I'll
That's it.
take. No, don't even. Okay, now I'm gonna text you the photo.
Let me. No, I'm going for a split second to get the password.
This is a much needed laugh break from the entire drama of this week.
It was very well timed. No, anyway. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay.
Don't be sorry, that was hilarious.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my 5th Top 10 list. In celebration of hitting 10,000 subscribers, I asked my viewers to come up with 10 top 10 lists of any topic that they thought would be interesting or entertaining for me to compose. Today, we will be counting down my top 10 tabletop moments on my channel. Special thanks to PernFan, Rachel Loretto, and Hannah for requesting this list. As I stated before, this will not contain moments already mentioned in my previous top 10 lists, such as my top 10 emotional moments. So be sure to check out that list if you want to see more tabletop goodness. Once again, I should give a fair warning that this list will contain spoilers from the campaigns themselves. In order to help you avoid unwanted spoilers, I have listed the names of the campaigns associated with these moments in the description below with timestamps that you can use to skip around if you wish. So, once again, those of you who are sensitive to spoilers, you've been warned. Without further ado, here are my top 10 tabletop moments on my channel. Number 10. Halloween Sessions. All campaigns. Halloween is one of my favorite holidays of the year because I really love getting into costume. Traditionally, during the month of October, I encourage my players to dress up in costume as their character for a session. And to make things fair, I always dress up as one of the NPC characters as well. To help motivate them, the top best costumes would be awarded bonus XP. We have had some amazing entries over the years. One of my personal favorites being Riz going that extra mile to cross-dress as his character, Cassie. These sessions have always been super fun, and I look forward to seeing what my players will come up with next. Number 9. Kyle and Chase's Bromance, Pokemon Spectrum. Although Cedric and Hugh was my personal favorite bromance in all the campaigns I've done so far, the one between Chase and Kyle Jenny was probably my second favorite. Although admittedly, most of it consisted of accidental innuendos on Shay's part.
Does Kyle himself have like a stick?
I'm sure.
Sorry.
He. How do I? Wow. Okay, we went. Okay.
Yep.
Well, he's seen him pull it out. So
he
now
has
it's gonna
seen him
be
pull his
great
yes,
his stick
his
out. Yeah, great.
stick
Okay,
out,
so
yes, okay.
so he knows because he offered it to him once, and that's sort of what I'm trying to.
He did
play off.
offer him. He did offer it, and he refused. So has he had a change of heart?
I don't know. He's starting to swing in his decisions.
But it continued happening over and over again during the course of the campaign that it just naturally turned into a running gag.
I'm not ready. And he goes to the Kyle. He goes towards Kyle's room across the hallway. So he gets into the room and he starts unbuttoning Kyle's shirt, takes off Kyle's pants. And then walks
Is actually
across.
in the room with you, or locked door? Okay.
Yeah, he didn't care. And if you're talking, he's not listening anymore.
Just to specify, you're currently wearing Kyle's
Yes,
clothes, right?
yes,
so
that's
when you
right.
said that you're unbuttoning Kyle's shirt and taking off Kyle's pants,
Come on,
you
Hart.
mean
Don't
that
ruin
the ones
tension
that are on
for me.
yourself?
Me.
I'm assuming.
Oh, trust me.
how you
If this
deal
were
with
the
stress.
other way around.
Wait, you didn't hear the line about I drag Kyle back with us to
I mean, I was like, I told you you'd have to make the first move, but
Nice.
dog's on it. Chase.
And you dragged Tiffany in with you, too. Wow. That says
Not
something.
only the first, but the second, third, and 10th. My goodness. Okay.
Jeez.
Though to be fair, the two characters did share some more serious moments, such as the scene of them bonding in Castelia City, and as a bonus, that ultimately did lead into Chase's infamous underwear scene.
And he walks
Exactly.
straight into the room between the beds in his underwear.
No. Pulls back, covers back over. Chase, clothing, please.
That's right, Chase. Just keep on hamming it up. Number 8. Mutiny against Maximilian. Dragon Age intervention. This scene was a favorite for a lot of viewers. It was a pivotal moment for David's character, and ultimately led to some very lasting effects on the dynamics of the group. Here we have the characters dealing with the possessed child Connor in Redcliffe, similar to the events in the original game in Origins. Maximilian was very determined to kill the child for the greater good, but the rest of the party did not necessarily see eye to eye with him.
It's over. We won, alright?
At what cost?
The cost of saving someone's life.
Again, at what cost? You are going down a path I cannot follow. I trusted you with that sword. I thought I knew you.
This sword saved your life.
That sword does not belong to you anymore.
Then I shall keep it against what you wish.
What are you going to do? Attack Delwyn after all we've been through? Just because you disagree on this? I know you don't agree. I know you think it was his horrid and stuff, but he made a sacrifice of himself. That was a dangerous thing he did to save a child's life. I understand this was morally great, but you are a soldier. You should know when you have to make sacrifices sometime.
Yes, you die.
For the greater good, like you said.
You don't become the evil you wish to fight.
I've heard things about blood magic. I've heard of the people who wield it. But I am not going to let that define how I view Delwyn.
It's fine. It's fine. Look, you don't have to agree with what I did, but I put myself at risk, and I wouldn't put a single one of you at risk.
You pretentious little bastard. I'm gonna go here. If no one stops me, I'm gonna go give him a right hook.
That's fine.
is anyone
I'm gonna
stopping him?
take it.
I'm raising up my fist again. I should
Alright.
kill
Okay.
you.
He says I should kill you.
I cast Force Blast at him to push him backwards.
Max, we're not your enemy.
If you're siding with him, you have no idea what's going on here. How could I trusted you all?
David's performance was so good, and the tension between these characters were so real. Resolving the situation didn't happen overnight, which is pretty darn realistic and shows how mature our role players were. As a result, watching how this affected the characters in future sessions was very neat to see. Number 7. Kenna's speeches, Dragon Age Resurgence. If you were to tell me that this was Sam's very first tabletop campaign she had ever played in, I would have been extremely shocked. Right from the beginning, she became Kenna instantly and seemed extremely comfortable in portraying her fully. She totally killed it playing as Kenna, accent and all. I was always amazed by how eloquent she was, especially when she improv'd numerous inspirational speeches for the group when they needed it the most. Kenna was the heart and the glue that kept the team together. One particular time was a speech she gave when the group was falling apart.
I've been quiet for a while now, and I've been listening and watching and trying to figure out who you people are because I don't trust you. But after that last attack, we could have died because we don't work as a team. And all of this, secrets over here and people wandering off and being angry, it's stupid. We were given these, and she's gonna hold up her bracer. And whether you believe that reason that we were given it to him was gods or fate or luck, good or bad, yet to be determined, somehow we were chosen for each other, and so that we could, accomplish whatever it is that we need to do. But we need to get our heads out of our asses, because we are no good to the dwarves, or our friends, or our family, or even ourselves, if we don't start working as a team both in and out of battle, okay? So I'm going to take the first step, and I've been building up the courage to do this, because it needs to be done. I'm going to trust lowlanders. I'm going to trust outsiders with my greatest pride and shame, and that's who I am. How I really am. And she looks really, really nervous, and she takes a step forward. My name is Kenna Catherine a White Veil Hold. I was the daughter of the Thane of our people, the leader. I was the proud sister of 2 younger twin brothers, and I loved my home in the Frostbacks. But when the Blight came, I failed. I didn't succeed in my task, and because of that, my home, my family, everything is dead and gone, except for Esbjorn, who without him, I would have died years ago, and I bear that guilt every day. She sort of takes a breath, like she was just rushing that out really fast. So there, first step taken, hard part done. You don't have to spill your guts. I don't need your secrets. But we do have to trust each other. So, and she sort of holds her bracer and powers it up, kind of, and puts her hand in the center of the group. And she goes, look, we have to put aside our differences long enough so that we can start to trust each other. Work together and do some real good in this world with whatever we're supposed to do. So let's have each other's backs. Let's work together. Finally, are you with me?
Because of that moment, not only did they end up discovering new powers, more importantly, this allowed them to truly become a team. Every time I watch this moment, I get goosebumps and my heart can't help but race. It was definitely one of the most epic moments in the campaign. Number 6. Final Battles, Dragon Age, and Pokemon campaigns. The final boss has been a staple of many games, including tabletop games. While not all RPGs necessarily need to have an end boss or quote-unquote big bad to begin with, I try to have some kind of climactic combat that occurs during the events of the finale. And I always try to do something extra special with the video editing to try to make this, quote, final boss fight as exciting and epic as I possibly can. The Dragon Age and Pokemon ones being my most favorite.
Allow me to show you once and for all how this universe truly works.
For the last time, my friends, roll initiative. Maximilian.
Yeah.
So, initiative starts. As you guys were Round 1. Number 5. Sync Sepia's date in Mass Effect Collision. I have a lot of favorite scenes from my first Mass Effect tabletop campaign, Mass Effect Collision. I could easily fill out this list purely with scenes from that campaign. But one of the highlights will have to be the impromptu date between Sync and Sepia. The latter garnering some feelings for the former over the course of the campaign, and her daughter decided to take matters into her own hands to fix her mom up with Sync. Sync, you're up in the cockpit, and you hear a voice. Mr. Sync, I have to show you something.
What do you need to show me?
She says, come here, quick. She says, I want to show you something really quick. It's a surprise. She's like tugging at you.
Okay, I'm coming.
She will take you over. Sync, what you see is this table, and Sepia is at the table with her eyes shut, and there's another chair to the opposite side. She says, sit down over here. And then in the middle of the table, there's this little vase. And then she puts in like this flower made from paper, like a paper flower. She sticks it in the middle of the vase. And then she yells out, surprise!
Oh.
And when Sepia opens her eyes, you see that there's this lunch with you and Sync at the table, and then there's a flower in the front. And then she says, lunch! Enjoy! And then she goes over to the room and she turns on this this radio. It's like this little radio at the end, and it starts playing like a children's song, like I love you, you love me, we're a happy family.
So, I'm gonna kind of.
And then Talia runs out of the room.
I'm gonna like sit like this, And so did you and Talia plan this or something?
I am just as much in the dark as you are. I had no idea she was planning on this.
Well, so what is this about exactly?
Well, when that's happening, you feel the light start to dim.
I must be really transparent if she's caught on.
You know, what transparent about what?
Nothing. Nothing.
Meanwhile, while this is happening, Arkara, you're walking down the hallway and you see Talia, and she's like giggling to herself.
I don't
know if you react.
I go up to her and pick her up and just conspiratorially leave my head in. What are you up to?
She says, I did it, Arkara. I'm getting a daddy.
What did you do now?
Hilarity ensues. Some quite uncomfortable hilarity, which involves the rest of the party too. It starts out cute, but then ends up being rather emotional and touching. One of my favorite mixes in these types of storytelling. Number 4. Someone flies and someone dies. Dragon Age intervention. The Archdemon attacks the Tempest Dream, which is the airship that the heroes of the Dragon Age intervention's crew travels around in. And an epic battle occurs that involves all the major PCs and NPCs working together on an extremely expansive map, not only to take down the Archdemon, but also to keep everyone else safe and the ship from falling apart. It was dynamic and everybody was involved and engaged. To make things even more intense and dramatic, it was also a scene that had a major character death. But it was done in such an epically heroic way. That encounter was such an amazing rush. Number 3. The Lands Meet, Dragon Age Resurgence. This was a really fascinating sequence. By this point in the campaign, the state of Thedas was vastly different from the canon in the Dragon Age video games. Ferelden, for one, was trying to rebuild and reestablish its government. I wanted to give the power of how Ferelden would move forward to the players. And not only the current Dragon Age players, but previous ones in the past as well. Characters from both seasons joined together in one session so their characters could decide on Ferelden's future. Would it continue with a monarchy? Or go oligarchy or even democracy? Or perhaps an entirely different form of government altogether? And once they decided upon what type of government, they next needed to decide who would rule/lead them. This included a whole town hall debate scene amongst PC characters, and it was super interesting to watch the events unfold. I definitely would love to see more sessions like this one in the future. Number 2. Simon Says, Mass Effect Collision.
Assault rifle hanging down by my side and just go up to the closest pod and just lay my hand on the glass.
You lay your hand on the glass, and as soon as you touch the glass, the eyes of that clone dramatically open and stare into yours. Of all the sessions I've posted to date on my channel, this was probably the darkest and most horrifyingly disturbing one to date. So much so that I even included a disclaimer at the beginning of every part of the session. But the dark elements played a crucial part in the storytelling of the narrative. I knew I needed to give these videos some extra love in post in order to accurately convey the horror that these characters had to go through. The whole thing was so intense, and all the players, plus even myself, were on the edge of our seats, anxiously awaiting what would happen next. You collect yourself, and the entire storage room starts to flash, as if like the fluorescent lights are turning on all at once. And then suddenly you are bathed in a deep bluish light, and you are surrounded in a room filled with Krogan stillborn babies.
Oh.
Basically, this session was one gigantic mind F. And the way that it ended was just as powerfully shocking. I was physically shaking when it finally came to a close, and that easily made it a very memorable moment. And my number one tabletop moment is the crossovers. All campaigns. If you haven't figured it out already, every single campaign that I have hosted on my channel are actually part of one giant expanded universe. I first came up with the idea to have the PCs from the Mass Effect Collision campaign somehow cross over into Thetis, the world of the previous campaign. In the external camera, you see this individual. The voice says, "Hello? Hello? Hi. Hello?"
What is
What is that thing? Who is that?
In the next session, campaigns will collide.
Oh my god!
Your universe that you've just jumped into is the Thetis Dragon Age universe.
What?
Maybe it should be the
2 weeks from now, you will have a special guest. One of the 4 players from the Dragon Age campaign will be reprising their role and will be playing with you in the Dragon Age universe.
Ah, amazing! Wait,
2 weeks. Yes.
Oh man.
We
got pulled into Thetis?
You got pulled into Thetis, which actually...
That's amazing.
And that's not all. The players from the previous campaign would reprise their roles as their own PC characters. Whatever happened during this crossover would affect both the current campaign and any other sequel campaigns of Thetis moving forward. This tradition continued with every campaign that followed. The Dragon Age Season 2 characters would cross over into Mass Effect, the Pokemon Spectrum characters would cross over into Dragon Age, and so on and so forth. Now, not everyone was fond about these crossover sessions, and I totally understand why. Some people feel it's a little too weird to have these different worlds mixing. I totally get that, and it can be a bit too meta for some people that it could take them out of the immersion. But I personally find them very fun and fascinating. I find it really cool to discover what would happen if you mixed the fantasy of Dragon Age with the sci-fi of Mass Effect. How would Pokeballs function in the land of Dragon Age? How would Templars react if they ended up in the world of Harry Potter? Quite often, when the two sets of PCs interact, you start to find similarities across teams, with characters discovering that they may have personal situations similar to a member of the opposite team, allowing them to relate to one another maybe even providing advice. And you'll always find the previous heroes mentoring the current generation of heroes, because they were in their shoes themselves before, not long ago. And it's so cool watching this mentoring happening, especially when those mentored PCs become mentors themselves for the next generation of heroes. I also love how it creates this community where every player that participates in one of my campaigns shares in the legacy, and it really gives the players ownership of where the entire expanded universe goes in the future. Not to mention, it's just awesome to reunite and have an annual opportunity to hang out and play with these players and characters again. My current plan is to have my 10th campaign anniversary be one that involved every single set of PCs throughout all the previous 9 campaigns into one big reunion campaign. I'm picturing it to be kind of like a quote-unquote Infinity War type of campaign, but of course with the plot being totally different. This would likely be my culminating campaign, and possibly the last campaign I would host on my channel. But who knows, we still got time. But I think it'd be really cool if that was our end game. So, that about wraps it up, everybody. Please tell me in the comments what your favorite tabletop campaign moment was from my channel. I would love to hear from you and continue going down memory lane. Until next time, everybody, love yourselves and love each other.